What critically acclaimed movie is hated now? A lot of comedy movies seem to have happened. Elf is the one I know of in particular. Pretty much every Christmas from 2004 to about 2017, everyone wouldn't shut up about Elf. I thought it was funny when I was 11, but even then, I hated the last hour of the movie when it becomes a very generic Christmas movie. But while I used to be the only one I knew who couldn't stand the movie, I'm seeing more and more people recognize it for what it is. Blue is the warmest color. Was critically acclaimed for being a queer movie in an industry where there were very few. Then it turned out the director dude made it a nightmare for the leads to work in it. And this is not an unpopular opinion anymore, but the explicit scenes in the movie come across as porn, and TBH it comes off a more hypersexualized depiction of lesbians than celebration of a lesbian love story. Mostly James Cameron's movies Titanic and Avatar. Avatar was liked for its VFX and new world with a simple story as old as time. Titanic was liked for its trend-setting and tragedy films. Many films set it as a benchmark for their respective genres. Hence it's been overplayed and overhyped for what it is. So far I only like Aliens and Terminator 1-2. Others I'm not too sure on since I haven't watched them. Traffic 2000 film won 4 Oscars and had a 93 RT score. Watched it recently. It's like a really preachy and flat episode of Narcos. IDK if it's hated today, but it seems pretty much forgotten. The other big acclaimed films that year Gladiator, Almost Famous, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Erin Brockovich had a lot more staying power. Song of the South won Oscars and had one of the most iconic Disney songs in the last half of the 20th century. Now Disney has more or less scrubbed it completely from availability. I personally can't stand any movie with Tom Cruise or John Travolta, even the ones that are regarded as good, and both of them are just shitty actors and people, and that Scientology shit is just ridiculous. Somehow the tide turned on Gone with the Wind and people are unwilling to admit the plain fact that it is one of the greatest movies of all time by any measurable metric. Sad state of things really. Fight Club. It's not even that people don't like the movie per se, but it's kind of fallen into that Rick and Morty zone where there's no social capital to be gained by being a fan of it. Pretty much everything Disney made this year received great critic scores and poor audience scores, so I say those all qualify as critically acclaimed movies most people hate. The Force Awakens was very beloved when it came out, but in typical J.J. Abrams fashion it falls apart the more time you have to think about it. The 2 sequels did not help. American Beauty. Crash. Titanic. Hated might be too strong, but I don't know of anyone watching it now. By contrast, Room still has movie screenings from time to time. Gone with the Wind 1939 film, this was back in 2020 due to ignoring the slaves it did show happy ones like Mammy enjoying work. She does have more authority than most. Well, technically a show not a movie, but from what I hear the ending of Game of Thrones basically fucked itself into oblivion and now no one talks about it anymore. I've seen a drastic and increasing backlash against Forrest Gump. Mainly because it won a Best Picture Oscar over films like Pulp Fiction and Shawshank Redemption. I managed a theater in Atlanta for AMC in the late 1980s and we showed it officially and with many weeks of sellouts the last time it was re-released in theaters. I just re-watched Deer Hunter. I remembered an amazing movie. It was trash. It does still make me glad I wasn't born in 1970s Pennsylvania though. The Force Awakens. When it came out, the sentiment was overwhelmingly Star Wars is back, but in hindsight it really doesn't hold up at all. American Beauty. I think when it first came out it received a lot of positive attention, but these days it's perceived very differently. I hear that not a lot of people are big fans of American Beauty, which is a big hit in 98-99, because of the whole Kevin Spacey thing. The English Patient. Thanks, Elaine. Rolling eyes face. Edit for those who don't know, Breakfast at Tiffany's is probably a good movies with some really offensively racist character that ruins it. My absolute first thought is American Beauty. Damn if it didn't get a bad rap after the Kevin Spacey scandal. Avatar Blue Alien 1. I get that it's white savior and space trope and all that, but I actually like it. Wasn't American Sniper critically acclaimed until they found out the guy made a bunch of it up? Slumdog Millionaire was not as good the second viewing onward. Fantastic soundtrack though. Forrest Gump has absolutely had tons of people turn on it over the past decade or so. Black Panther. May movie that became critically acclaimed because BLM etc etc. Citizen Kane seems to gather very polarizing opinions whenever it comes up. I'm sure most of them have been dissected by SJWs for problematic themes. Crash seems like the most obvious example of goat to goat. Goat. The Irishman. Wow, it's too long, What aging?